proceed to each council meeting with a word of prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you'd like to, please feel free to join us. Miss Isby, could I ask you for a word of prayer tonight, please?
Sure. If you'll bow with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much, Lord, for the abundant blessings that you've given us with, that you blessed us with. We thank you, Lord, for this city that you've made us to be stewards of. We just ask, Lord, that everything that is done will be decent and glory. Then you will get the glory that you so deserve at the end of all of this. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just so you all know, Jamie has turned the heat down, so maybe it'll get a little bit more comfortable in there.
Thanks, Jamie.
It's going to be cold.
Yes, I know
You
it's
don't
cold.
need all that.
Okay. Should have received copies of the December 12th, 2023 City Council minutes. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion for approval as submitted. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7.
Don't call this thing to order.
I'm sorry, Mr. Garrett, please call the roll.
Yeah.
My bad.
Mr. Hawkins?
I'm hot.
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Mr. Cummins?
Here.
Miss Mel?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Miss Isby?
Here.
All right. Well, now that we got the first order of business taken care of. Our first up will be the Economic Development Committee, and we have we've got Mr. Dale and Mr. McDaniel here, I think, from Conway Corporation. This is a resolution to approve a grant application submission to the U.S. Department of Energy for Grid Resistance and Innovation Partnership for Conway Corporation. Council, what this is for us, it's really a pass-through. Since we are the city, Conway Corporation has to go through us, so they're really asking us to be the pass through on that. If you have any questions, Mr. McDaniel or Mr. Dell, who is a short timer at Conway Corporation, are here. Okay, Council, back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this application, this grant application. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett, would you call the vote, please?
This will be Resolution R2401. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7. Next up, we have Economic Development. Mr. Hawkins, sir, we will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on this portion of the agenda is consideration to approve waiving all the readings for the ordinance on the January 9th, 2024 City Council agenda, and I'll take a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings on council meeting, tonight's readings. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution approving the organizational rules and procedures for the City Council for the year 2024.
As you know, council, this is just something we do every year in January. It's our organizational rules. Anybody have anything that they want to change? We believe our council meetings at the normal times that we've set at this time, that we were operating off of last year. Is everybody good at those times and our procedures? Okay. Back to you, council.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution, R2402. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the rules and procedures for 2024. No further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
That's 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a consideration to approve nominees for the Central Business Improvement District. There are 2 members serving partial terms now, and the Central Business District Board of Commissioners voted to recommend the appointment of Chris Crane and Joanna Nabholz to full 6-year terms, and both of those people have indicated their willingness to serve on that commission. So I move that we accept the nominations for here.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the name of Chris Crane and Joanna Nabholz to a full term of 6 years. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution waiving bid requirements and allowing the city of Conway to enter into an agreement for the city hall mitigation and repair. Hi, Jamie.
Good
Tell us
evening.
something good.
I will try my best.
Good.
So as you all know, that we had a water leak in City Hall on October 29th. I am still waiting for a final number from Arkansas Municipal League, but I do have 2 good numbers from contractors on the remainder of the mitigation and repair work. And tonight we're asking you to approve that lowest quote. And with your permission, we'd like to proceed, and I want you all to know that council chambers is on the priority list, the top priority, so.
So we have it fixed Friday?
I'm sorry?
We have it finished Friday?
No, sir.
Have you gone in there?
Yes, I've been there. We had about 4.5 gallons of water per minute flowing for 60 hours.
Yep.
So the damage was considerable.
It was not a little leak.
No.
No. Are there any other questions?
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R2403. Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for City Hall repairs and mitigation. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Thank you, Jamie. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution to approve the annual transportation services contract for 2024. And the numbers for that, independent living services, we're proposing $30,000 for them for transportation services. Boys and Girl Scouts Club, Boys and Girls Club of Faulkner County, sorry about that, recommending $80,000, and the Faulkner County Council on Aging recommending $92,000 for that particular item. And the resolution is R 2404.
And these are just our yearly transportation agreements with each organization. And this is the same amount from last year, and this was all included in the budget.
Move for adoption of the resolution.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve our transportation contracts for 2024. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a ordinance appropriating funds for a mural project for the Public Art Advisory Committee. And someone here to speak on that?
I have had several phone calls. The art that will go in the fire station will be firefighter themed.
And this is one of the projects for the Public Art Advisory Committee. They are looking at properties to add some murals to, and so we are going to do a fire theme on Central Fire Station somewhere on that building. So.
Good.
We're actually wanting to put a mural of Chief Ledbetter and myself. You know, with the horses in the hay, because it's been that long ago.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, Felicia.
Make a motion for adoption of the resolution O2405.
That's an
It's an
ordinance.
ordinance.
It's an
I'm
ordinance.
sorry.
Ordinance.
Oh,
01.
one. Second.
Yeah, first one. Have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance for Public Art Advisory Board for mural at Central Fire Station. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I will just note for the record that this appropriation and others like it are funded through the voluntary property tax
That's correct.
that's collected by the
Thank
city.
you, Mr. Grimes. That's correct. Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector to place a lien on properties around the city for expenses incurred by the city to clean up those particular pieces of property. The first property in question is 108 Fairway Drive. The city has spent $63.20 at this point in cleaning up this piece of property. Is there an owner or representative of an owner from 108 Fairway Drive with us tonight?
Council need to make a correction to your number. It is listed at $63.20. I've been advised that amount is $99.52.
9952.
Yes, sir.
That's what I have on the resolution.
Would any, you've asked about the property, Mr. Hawkins, if you want to speak?
Yes, I did ask, and I don't see anyone coming forward to speak about that, Mr. Mayor.
I
So, go
A
ahead.
motion for the adoption of the resolution, R2405, and that number is correct on the resolution. Second.
Have a motion second to adopt resolution R 2405 in the amount of $99.52. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next location, Mr. Mayor, is 1040 and 1060 Jeanette Drive. Is there an owner or representative of an owner from 1040 or 1060 Jeanette Drive with us tonight?
Also a correction to this amount, Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, sir.
It's listed at 10626. The corrected amount is 146.89.
146.89 is the corrected amount. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Make a motion for adoption of this resolution, R2406, and it does have the correct amount of 146.89. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution R 2406, the amount of 146.89. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
And the next item, Mr. Mayor, and let it be show in the record that no one came forward for that particular piece of property.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Hawkins.
third item, third piece of property is at 3955 College Avenue. Is there an owner or representative of an owner from 3955 College Avenue with us tonight? Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone stepping forward, so we have a resolution to read for this item. It's Resolution 2407.
Yes.
Thank you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution. Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt resolution R 2407, the amount of 146.89. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution authorizing the acquisition of property for the Lower Ridge Road realignment project for the Department of Transportation. And Kurt, before you get started, I would like to comment about this real quickly. In 1992, when my daughter was learning to drive, we almost got killed at this particular intersection.
Calling you out, Mayor.
You're not in an exclusive club.
We were headed south on Highway 65, and I told her to take a left. And she took a left and almost went over the edge
So you gave
before
a
we
wrong-
had to get that corrected. So I thought that I would let everyone know about
So
that.
you gave a bad directions then.
This has generated a lot of interest.
This is
Yes,
much
yes, sir.
needed. This
So-
has been discussed.
Kurt,
This is a project we've been working on for, well, as long as I've been here.
Well,
And
Ron, it goes back to
the,
Ron.
just, some background on this, and, you talked about the dangerous nature of this intersection, and there's, I think, we pulled up some traffic crash data on this intersection. In the last 4 years, there have been, 59 crashes at that intersection. Some of them,
quite serious.
a lot of them, serious injury accidents. So this is a much-needed project. This is something that, like I said, we've been working on for a while. We've had the design completed for some time. We've been working with Mr. Finkenbinder and his office in negotiating this agreement with the property owners. This $300,000 that they are requesting is higher than our appraised value of the property, but it's significantly lower than the starting number that they started with. And we feel in order to, again, the importance of this project and to expedite this project, we're asking to move forward with the acquisition of this property for this $300,000 price.
Very good.
And any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Once this is completed, the traffic that is coming off Lower Ridge Road and still heading up to Highway 65, will that be right turnout only?
We haven't, we'll have to work, this project is not limiting that. That's our desire long-term. We'll have to work with the highway department. That's going to be on their right-of-way and address that situation. But, you know, we're going to do everything we can to strongly encourage that that be right turn only. But it will remain open for right turns, definitely, at the very least.
It should,
But
for right
yes.
turn.
But our goal is to try to limit that turning movement off that intersection on
That would be
65.
very
But
good.
we'll have to coordinate that with the state.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have to make any improvements in the street once it enters the town center?
Yes, we'll be making improvements along the kind of the area immediately south of Julie's there for a short distance after we enter their site, and we're going to rebuild all that and make it look more like a city street versus you know, a parking lot driveway aisle. So we'll be, and then at some point it kind of turns into what already, you know, essentially looks like a street. We won't be making any modifications to that section. I think the plan, in fact, in your packet, I believe you've got, it kind of shows the limits. There's two plans in there.
Yeah,
And,
kind of where the red
second sheet-
ends?
The second sheet, kind of the shaded area, that shows where our construction limits to
Okay.
that, improvements to that drive aisle will end.
Well, I know this came up at my very first ward meeting back in 2007, so I know it's been talked about that
It is-
long.
I made a mistake shortly after moving to Conway,
Trying to
ended
go
up
left.
there and thinking I was gonna turn left, and
You can.
you can.
You can,
You
yeah,
better
you
be
can.
fast. Well, with the, there's been mention of the soccer facility.
Soccer facility and
yes.
Museum Road and all of that.
Right.
All those improvements. So Stephen Morgan's next, right? Just saying.
Nice try.
Just throwing it out there.
Nice try.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Back to you, council.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R-2408.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution R-2408 for the agreement for the Lower Ridge Road project. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins.
I do have one correction. I think I said that was 1992. With my daughter, it was 2002. I was 10 years off. I had her driving at age 6.
Were you getting a look?
Yes.
You don't know your daughter's birthday? Is that
No,
what you
the
said?
older you get, the more the years just run
Oh, I didn't
together.
say that.
You know?
Thanks, I needed that.
Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow eat-in and drive-through services in the O2 zoning district for property at 2885 Prince Street. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their regular meeting in December, and at that time, they voted 9-0 to forward this to City Council with a recommendation of approval. That meeting date was December the 18th of 2023, and again, 9-0 was the vote to move this forward to us with a recommendation of approval. I've said all I can say about it.
All right. Yeah, this is located at 2885 Prince Street, which is right there on the corner of Prince and Salem. What they're requesting is a fast casual restaurant with a pickup window. Basically, the way it would work is you'd go on your app, order the food, and then you'd come through a window. It's not like a traditional drive-through. We looked at this. We placed conditions on the hours of operation. We placed some other conditions on there also that you can read. And we did recommend approval, and Planning Commission did as well. Any questions for now?
What are those hours? So everybody can.
The one
10
that's
a.m. to 11 p.m.
10 to 11.
10 to 11.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for this, or anyone like to speak against this? Council, back to you.
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a motion, a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit to allow this eating establishment to drive through in an O2 zoning district for property located at 2885 Kent Street. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to mention that This is the same place, we had another place wanted to be there, but the difference is all night and hours.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, sir. Council? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Mr. Hawkins?
Last item here, Mr. Mayor, is ordinance to rezone property located at 1811 and 1813 Harkrider Street and 1152 Hunter Street. The current zoning is R2A and O2, and the requested zoning is a PUD. And I'm going to turn this over to somebody else.
What we'll do is the planning staff will discuss this first. Then I think Ms. Megan Wickworth is going to speak, and anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this project will be allowed to speak. And then after that, anyone that is opposed to this will also be allowed to speak. We ask that if you have someone to speak for your group, we'll allow the first speaker on for or against 10 minutes, and anyone after that, for or against, who has something new to say, we'll go with 3 minutes there. But we'll start with the planning staff, and we'll move forward with this.
Yes, sir. Again, this is at 1811 and 1813 Harkrider Street and 1152 Hunter Street. It is a request to rezone from R2A and O2 to a planned unit development. When this was brought to us originally in planning, it was three-story buildings with commercial on the bottom floor and then apartments above it. They went through a couple public hearings, and what came out of it was to allow for 4 duplexes on these 4 lots, which they do have the square footage to allow for under R2A. The reason the PUD is being used is because of access and because there's not enough frontage that would be in a traditional R2A zoning. We looked at this. We think the density is appropriate for the area. There shouldn't be a significant impact of traffic with the 4 duplexes. We've listed out our recommendations there. This did go in front of the Planning Commission. I believe they did pass this unanimously also.
They did.
Or recommend it unanimously.
Any questions for the planning department?
No.
Good.
Would anyone, let's see, Mr. Wickworth, are you planning on speaking? Anyone who'd like, speaking in favor right now? Anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this, we'll give you 10 minutes. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of, 3 minutes afterward. If you would, state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
I am not Megan. I am Jason
I figured
Barnett. Yeah. Megan was sick, so I have to step in for
Okay.
her this evening. 18 Fiegel Loop, Conway, Arkansas address. I've been working with Mr. Greg Lasker on this project, and I'm just coming up to answer any questions that you guys have about it. But we were, like he had said, we took 4 lots, and they would have been fine for duplexes. We did need access because we couldn't get it off the Harkrider, so we did a PUD and presented it. And any questions that you guys have, I'd love to answer them.
I do have a question or two.
Yes, sir.
On the west side of the property, it appears that you're making this one-way in and on out on
Yes, sir.
Gist Street.
Yes,
Street. Is that not going to cause maybe some issues with traffic getting onto Harkrider, or do you anticipate people going to other parts of the town?
We were trying to limit the exposure to the neighborhood behind.
Okay.
So we were really trying to do that. We worked with Megan on that layout, and I know that we still have to go before site development and traffic studies on Harkrider. So we were doing everything that we could to keep traffic to a minimum inside the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you for that answer.
Council, any other questions? Thanks, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this request? Hello, David.
Good evening. David DeRosa. I live on 1005 Borough Avenue in the village. I'm speaking on behalf of residents of the village. And I also own a home at 1260 Hunter Street. So I'm right in the middle of the development. And so one of the things I want to say is I appreciate the process that there was public hearings, feedback was accepted, and plans were changed. So I just want to state that I do appreciate the process that we have in place. As a homeowner, as a citizen of Conway, I think this is a nice development. It's needed. That area has been overlooked, and it's been a couple abandoned homes for a number of years. So we're long overdue for an improvement there. I believe that what's being proposed is good and it's fair. And again, after some adjustments have been made, so I'm in favor of that. I think there's concerns about traffic, and I've kind of done some math based on what the planners estimated the traffic would be. And over the course of a day, I think traffic, throughout the Hendricks addition is going to be minimal. A few trips in the morning, a few trips in the afternoon, because there are options. There's, exiting and entering from Harkrider. I think the concern is people going through to Washington. But again, I think if you do the math and look at the course of a day, it's not going to be egregious. The other concerns I know people have is what is this going to look like? And what's that going to be like as you come down Harkrider and you see this big development kind of at the crest of the hill? Well, the PUD, there's requirements that pertains to the PUD, but it also has to go before the Historical Review Committee. Is that for me?
No, thanks.
Oh.
No. No, you still got a minute.
Okay. Thank you. So the good news is that whatever design he has in mind, it's going to get reviewed one more time and tweaked, and I have a high degree of confidence that they're going to come up with a design that is going to be favorable and accepted and integral to that neighborhood. I think one of the other concerns was the height of the building. And really what we need along Harkrider is a buffer from Harkrider. So for the residents on the other side, they're going to benefit from a two-story building that creates a little bit of a block between that and the logging trucks that roll up and down and the high amount of traffic. So that's my 2 cents. Any questions about what I said?
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Okay, we'll change gears now, and those in opposition. First speaker, will give you 10 minutes, and anyone after that, about 3. Thank you, sir. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name's Mike Forrest. I live at 1208 Hunter Street. I strongly oppose this rezoning of R2A to PUD. Conway, on the comprehensive plan, you go to the website, you look at the plan brochure, it says Conway's unique appeal is small town charm. That's characterized by a slower pace of life and a strong, easy sense of community. I think we all appreciate that. And that's exactly why my family and I chose to move into the Hendricks Historic Addition. It's a neighborhood. We know our neighbors. I could go down the block and tell you each person that's there. We spend time with each other in each other's homes. We have picnics twice a year where we build community. We know each other. I think that the proposed development, which consists of 8 units, 4 bedrooms each, you can do the math. It's 32 residents, potential, maybe more. That's just simply too dense for our traditional single-family house neighborhood. And so I would really ask you to consider that doubling or tripling the density is definitely going to impact things like we talked about traffic, safety, parking. It potentially could pose other challenges for the city and for our neighbors and family. So our small, modest, historic neighborhood is just really not equipped to handle a development that large and a development in the way that it's typical, or it has been proposed. And I ask the council not to approve it. Secondly, I'm a little bit concerned because as we've gone through this, I have looked at the PUD zoning requirements that are published on the city website. According to section 311.2G on PUD plan preparation, it says the planned unit development that are officially submitted for the Planning Commission review shall be reviewed and stamped by an architect, landscape architect, or engineer licensed in the state of Arkansas. Each plan that I should say, any of the plans that I've seen, none of those have been stamped or it shows evidence that it's been reviewed by an architect, a landscape architect, or an engineer, which makes me concerned when it goes to site review, what is that going to look like? As I understand it, PUD, the rezoning and the actual building of the plan are supposed to be in tandem. It is a unique building zone or code that's different than R2R. R2A says these are the things that you must do. PUD is kind of, we have a unique situation and we need to make the music as we go. And that's before it gets to the Planning Commission. That plan is supposed to be completely together, and I've looked in previous PUDs that proposed, and that's what has happened, is they have a full-blown plan that's presented to the Planning Commission, and they're presented to you all to vote on. That is not what has happened with this plan. If you look at the agenda and today's, the plan is one top view of 4 units and the landscaping around it. It's not a full plan. So I'm wondering if that's ever been, if it's been reviewed by an architect. So just kind of makes me question how that's going to play out. And if it goes to PUD, and I'm not doubting Mr. Lasker's ability, but let's say he has to abandon the project, are we stuck with the zoning of PUD if another developer comes in and wants to do something else? So I propose an alternate solution is maybe to maintain the R2A and work through making those, replotting it into 3 lots and putting 3 2-bedroom unit duplexes like the ones that were proposed to reduce the density, to make sure that we retain R2A. That's important for our historical register. And that there be a variance of some sort given to allow, I guess it would be driveways from Gist and from Hunter. So in light of these concerns, I asked the city to, no, that one's not for me. So
Are you doing good?
Okay, now, in the light of these concerns, I just ask you all to not rezone this to PUD. I think there's too many questions. There's not enough answers that in the proposed plan. And when we think about responsible, harmonious growth and having that small town charm, I don't think putting a 3-story PUD development on the top of the highest geographical point in Conway is the way to go about it.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? You could probably come up here and run this meeting, Ms. Lee.
Thank you. I'm glad you're doing it. My name is Weta Wright. I live at 1170 Winfield Street. And I just need to express some concerns that many of my neighbors share with me. And that is, one is the traffic. And when you think about Harkrider and you think about the Hendricks addition, it's small, it has narrow streets. These are probably the same width that they were in 1892 when it was platted. And we don't have gutters or curbs. And when you think about maybe 32 additional vehicles living in the neighborhood using those little streets, it becomes a traffic safety issue. And the reason they're going to be using the little streets within the neighborhood is because Harkrider is divided by a median. You can't turn into this property directly if you're northbound. And so you will have to turn probably on Winfield, then turn on Cleveland, which is little and narrow, and then turn on Hunter, which is little and narrow. So these streets are so narrow, you cannot stop and turn right without getting in the other lane, you know, when you're turning. So that is one of our main concerns. And also, we are in the National Register of Historic Places, and we're really a neighborly neighborhood. We do have our picnics and our caroling, and we know each other. So we want to maintain that, and we hope that you'll help us do that. Maintain our historic charm and our character and safety of the neighborhood. One other thing, if I have any time left, is that
You're good.
we're within the old Conway overlay district, and the guidelines there envision low density, and that new construction should have similar height of existing buildings within the block. And so both of those guidelines are disregarded by the proposed plan. So just help us maintain our historic charm and character and safety, and we'd like for you to deny this application as it stands now. Maintain the R2A zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rice.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Scott. Scott Stevenson, I live at 1809 Cleveland Street, and I'm happy to see Woody Cummins back on the city council. It's been a long time.
Oh, after deals like this.
I'm adamantly opposed to this change to a PUD, where R2A. I was pained to see this monstrosity thrown up right there, blocking the sun from my house. But I worry about the runoff onto the highway. The Gist Street and Hunter are quiet streets. They don't need the additional traffic. We're a close neighborhood. We have a lot of rental property. The addition of more, there's tons of rental property around. We've been told that these are going to be townhouses costing $500,000 a piece, and you're lucky to have it here because it's going to increase your property value. I'd rather have the quiet neighborhood. You know, I'm not worried about money anymore. I get along fine. But I just ask you, I don't think it's been prepared. I think that's a jackleg thing they just came up with, found a blank piece of land, let's put it here. And I just ask you to not approve it. That's it.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is John Courtway. I live at 1222 Hunter Street. I almost forgot my address. I'm not going to replow a lot of the ground that's been covered in the emails that were sent to the city council, or some of the things that my neighbors had shared already tonight. But I do want to make a note of a couple of things. One, it seems to me that there's a tendency anytime anybody brings up the idea of old or historic, that there's a tendency to point to the Historic District Commission with the idea that, well, the Historic District Commission will take care of the problem. But I'd submit to you that that commission is at the end of the line and cannot address the objections that my neighbors and I have to this proposal. The primary one being the density, which has an effect on the traffic and the parking. If the application is approved as is tonight, the train is leaving the station. It'll make other stops before it reaches its final destination, one of which will be the Historic District Commission. But that commission is only capable of changing the color of the cars, things of that nature. It cannot send the train back to the city council with the suggestion or the proposal that they drop the number of cars. I'd submit to you that Hunter Street, and I don't mean to dog the streets that are represented in a neighborhood like Gist or Winfield or Jefferson or Cleveland, But I'd submit to you that Hunter Street is one of the signature streets, not only in our neighborhood, but it's one of the signature streets in our town. You know, Caldwell and Robinson, absolutely, but Hunter is right there with them. Just with the various architectural styles that are represented by those modest homes along our street, and also the grandeur of those trees, particularly those oak trees that line the streets of Hunter Street. You know, my wife and I wanted to buy a 1222 Hunter for my brothers and sister after my parents died, and you know, not as a rental, not as an Airbnb, but to live in and maintain.
No, I thought I had that turned off.
Well, I hope it's not your wife.
That is one of my sons who is wanting me to buy a sled.
Anyway, we love the house. We knew Hunter is a signature street in Conway, and we wanted to stay in the neighborhood because there's a sense of community in this neighborhood unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I guess I'd ask you to consider the idea that you really want to put a development with this density on Hunter Street. You know, my wife is back here, we're not opposed to something going on these lots. In fact, we're fine with something going on these lots. We want people to come into our neighborhood, to be a part of the community that we've built and maintained. We just simply ask that you reduce the density of this development by restricting them to 3 duplexes and make it more in keeping, not only with the signature street that Hunter is, but also in keeping with the small, modest, historic neighborhood that we are. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? At this time, we will bring it back to the city council.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Come on.
I'm short, you probably couldn't see me.
I didn't have my glasses on.
My name is Slayton Fry. I live at 1256 Winfield Street.
Got a letter.
My wife and I moved here 6 years ago from Baytown, Texas, but we're Arkansas natives. She went to Hendrix, I went to UCA, and we loved the house we bought. We loved the neighborhood. I thought it was cool because a UCA grad got the Hendrix president's house, and that was the added benefit. I'd like to talk just a little philosophy with you. Rather than talk about density or traffic or safety, you know, we know something's going to go on these lots. They can't sit empty. It's too valuable a piece of property, and it needs to be developed. But I want you to think about your zoning code as the city's commitment to its citizens. When you zone something, R2A, you're telling the residents of that neighborhood, we're going to protect you by putting these requirements on new building in that area. That's what a zoning code's for, right? It's to protect the existing property owners. And I understand that those things can be changed and probably should be changed over time. However, to make those changes, you should have a very strong justification. You should have a definite plan. It should be worked out. The details should be known to everybody. It should be properly reviewed and vetted. And I just don't think in this case, this project has that strong a justification. And I urge you to oppose it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition? Okay, at this time, council will bring it back to you.
Yeah, I still got the question.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to know if all these issues were brought up at the planning commission.
Yes.
And everybody came and they was okay with what the planning commission voted on?
No.
Citizens were.
No.
That's why they're here now.
I understand, but I understand why they're here now, but I'm just, so what now?
They did not ask a single question to those that opposed. It was like it was already made up.
They did ask us why we didn't buy the property.
That's I'm sorry.
They asked you what?
One question.
Why
They asked us why we didn't buy the property instead of the current developer.
If I can make a
Yes, ma'am.
suggestion, okay? And one thing I heard in talking with a number of the residents of the neighborhood, and I think Mr. Fry and John and some of the others have brought this up, is I think there was kind of a misunderstanding on their part about how they could have input conditions on. A PUD is that instance where we can say, you have to have an 8-foot fence, and it has to be built with this stuff. And so none of that is included in what the Planning Commission has submitted to us. Kind of those conditions, those, I talked about a buffer. Many of you will remember when we rezoned and approved what happened at Kroger when they did their expansion. We went down to the number of trees, what size, what species, and I don't think that happened here. And so one possibility could be, do we give the neighborhood time to meet if Mr. Lasker's willing to get together and work out some of those conditions before we make that step? Because I think you raised a really good point. What protections are here? And this is a way for us to assure those protections for that neighborhood.
Well, since I got this started, I don't think the issues are buffers. I think the issues they got, I've heard, was a whole lot different what they proposed in the PUD. Street drainage, traffic, and width of the streets, and I don't know if a PUD would address that. And that's why I was wondering if they got a chance to speak, because I heard a whole lot of concerns myself about, I know that area. And if they're not gonna allow them to go to Hawk Rider, that stuff is going back the other way. It's going through the neighborhood.
Well, they could go to Hark Rider from Gist, right? You come out, Gist, go right, and get on Hark Rider. Is that right? That's the way I read this. So anyways, my only suggestion would be, could we table this, bring it back in 2 weeks, and give the neighborhood an opportunity to see if they can come up with something that's acceptable?
I'm 100% for that. I am. I mean, I'm probably the oldest person in the world, but I know that neighborhood. And I just know if it was me living in that neighborhood, I'd like to have a little more say-so in what's going on over there. I understand everything is going to be developed around you.
Right.
But I heard some issues I thought had a lot of credibility to it. And that's why I was asking, had they had those issues at the Planning Commission? That's just me.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Would that work for the residents there? Would that work? Mr. Lasker, would that work for you? We table this?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
I think from the Planning Commission, right? All the protocols have been met. Yes or no? If the protocols have not been met, then they would not have said.
Mr. Lasker, would you come to the podium, please, sir? I'm sorry. Sure. State your name, address for the record, please, sir.
Greg Lasker. You need my address?
Yes.
28 Lakeview Drive, Conway, Arkansas.
Thanks, sir.
So, most of the things that have been said are true, number one. And there wouldn't have been the recommendation to move this forward from the Planning Commission if they saw a problem. Isn't that right? Yes, sir? Unanimous approval from the Planning Commission. And the recommendations that were brought forward, we agreed to do, period. Some of the statements that were made here just aren't true about high buildings or whatnot. We had, in our first meeting, we proposed a commercial space and rental property, second and third floor. Neighborhood came out in opposition. We heard it. We came back and we had a second meeting. And we made the changes because we listened to them. And they know that. And now they're back again talking about density. That one building's not going to make a difference, and we're not talking about 35 cars. Nowhere close to it.
Thank you, Mr. Lasker.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, just there are a lot of questions, and I'd like to see some answers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one gentleman asked if the PUD was approved and Mr. Lasker backed away from the project or won the lottery and moved to Hawaii and whatever, somebody else took it over. as a one of the PUD conditions, we can make it specific to this developer, correct? Okay, so that's the specific answer to the specific question. It can be made, if PUD is approved, it can be specific to this applicant.
Yes.
Okay, and if you sold it, starts over.
They would have to.
Okay, so there, all right. Okay. Now, currently, as is, there's 4 lots, correct? One is O2, there's 3, there are R2A. Well, either way.
I'll answer
All right.
anything I can.
On the O2 lot, there's currently a structure, so let's just forget that for a moment.
Right.
There are 3 R2A lots.
Yes.
If nothing changed tonight, and somebody went out tomorrow to break ground, what could they do?
There are 4 R2A lots.
There's 3. It says O2. There's 3. Number 4. One had, where Collins is right now is zoned O2. Okay. So right now, by right, they could put duplexes on the R2A lots. They'd have, well, 1 per lot. But they would have to have a variance for setbacks. And there is a problem with access.
Hang on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So that's 3
No,
duplexes.
no variances, no setback. Tomorrow, if they showed up with a bulldozer, what could they do? How many could they build?
I don't think
that's the answer.
I don't think the lot is big enough to do anything without a variance in R2A.
Okay, thank you. So that's our starting point. So the starting point is nothing can go there, is what I'm hearing?
No? Okay. I'm gonna let Ron take over this.
Okay, the lots are in a configuration right now where they would have to be configured, replatted. By replat, they could fit 3 duplexes there.
Can you speak up, please?
If the lots are reconfigured through a replat right now, and say the O2 was down zoned to an R2A, as it's currently configured, they could replat it into 3 lots with 3 duplexes.
I'm
Now-
sorry, hang on.
Okay.
I'm not talking about any kind of rezoning or changes. As is. Not tearing down.
I would have to see the
Tomorrow, if they
configuration
show
of the
up, what can they build tomorrow on what's there?
3 duplexes after a replat, which is administrative.
On those 3 R2A lots, they can build 3 duplexes.
I would have to get the measurements. If that one was just kicked out completely, maybe only 2. But they're trying to do all 4 lots, even the one that's O2. Which R2A is a down zone from an O2 zoning.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the O2 building.
I understand.
We're not tearing that down. He's not buying it. The 3 that are already zoned R2A, can 3 duplexes be built there currently?
I would have to look at the configuration of the lots. At least 2 could be built there now.
Okay, all right. Well, here's there's a lot of questions, evidently. The first question I'd like to know is what, if nothing happens, what can happen? But first, is it a requirement for PUD to have an architecture stamped plan?
It should be designed by an architect, which I believe it was, but they should be stamped. Yes, it should be stamped by the bylaws that he read.
Do we have one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, then I'd say we table this till a lot of this is worked out.
You've got way too many unanswered questions to
That's
even
fine.
consider.
I think there's room to do something here, but I don't think we can even proceed with PUD if there's not a stamped architectural design. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
That's as good a, yeah.
Okay, so council, y'all decide you want to table, I'll take a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to table this item at this time.
Well, and I would respectfully ask that our planning department come up with what, and I understand, it's not your job to figure out the intricacies of it at this point, I get that, but if you can figure out what can go there as is, pretty much now, maybe with a slight little replat, it's fine, but what can go there now, and how you get access, and then if the neighbors and the developer can maybe have a powwow and then get the stamped architectural I's dotted and T's crossed, we'll look at it again. Mr. Hawkins.
Can I ask Mr. Lasker a question real quick? Greg, are you still here?
Yes, sir. Could you step up to the mic, please, Mr. Lasker?
You're going to sell these as condominiums?
Yes, sir.
Like condominium type situations?
Yes, sir.
So, in effect, that would be a permanent resident rather than a transient resident for the most part, moving into these facilities.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lasker. That's all I need.
Thank you, Mr. Lasker. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this agenda, this item tonight. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Passes 6-1. All right, thank you, Mr. Hawkins, for handling this portion of the program. Council, that's all we have of our regular meeting night. I would like to ask the council to suspend the rules to hear public comment concerning the incident this past weekend. I'd like to take a motion and a second to that.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to hear public comment tonight. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 7-0. Tonight, we know we have people here who would like to address the city council in regards to the incident that happened this past week at Mally's. We're here to listen. I know that there was a meeting last night that was held by the Faulkner County NAACP, and I know that there were some questions that were brought out of that meeting. I do have representation. I think we do have, I'm sorry. Okay.
I can't hear you.
Give me a minute to sit down.
I'm sorry for those who can't hear me, because normally we'd be in City Hall, and until we get our building remodeled, we will be here. But anyway, I'll just move right through it. I would like to introduce our police chief. He's going to kind of bring the council and those of you that are here tonight up to speed on where we are at this time. Chief Harris, please, sir.
For those unfamiliar with me, I'm Chris Harris, currently serving as interim chief of the police department. Sorry, my back is to you all. If I turn this, everything's going to fall for the media. I want to come in today and talk about an update on the investigation for the events that happened Saturday. But before I do that, I want to address the concern that the community had regarding why certain individuals weren't arrested on that night. Okay, when our officers arrived on that scene, it was a chaotic event, as y'all can well imagine, and through the videos. Some of the witnesses or the victims, when our officers arrived, have already left at this point. We didn't hear about till later, either in the evening or the next morning, about a stabbing that had taken place. I can tell you that when our officers that arrived on scene.
Excuse me, Chris. I'm sorry. You're going to have to speak in the
sorry.
microphone.
At no point did somebody our officers talked to at that point said somebody was stabbed or somebody tried to get stabbed. So we didn't find out that information until later. The video circulating around on social media, we did not receive until later. Most of the videos that our detectives received to conduct this investigation were not received until Sunday or Monday. Incidents like this are taken very seriously by the Conway Police Department. However, it's crucial to gather all the information that we can and pertinent facts to build a strong case moving forward. Unfortunately, we couldn't complete this process that night of the incident, and we required additional time to gather information. But that being said, I want to express our gratitude to the members of the public who have stepped forward and shared videos and statements with our department regarding this incident. I would also like to acknowledge the dedication and hard work of the detectives at the Conway Police Department and the members of the prosecutor's office, including Carol Cruz, for the countless hours they devoted to this investigation. And I hope that answers some of the questions. I know I can't sit here and have enough time to explain, but we have to gather enough evidence to make a strong case moving forward. If we arrest somebody on a weak case or weak evidence, that may hurt us down the road for a conviction. So regarding the investigation, on the night of the incident, one person was apprehended within the first 2 minutes of the arrival of the first responding officers, and she went to jail that night. After we started receiving, a few days later, receiving additional videos and everything, an individual was charged with 5 felony counts related to their involvement in this incident. Additional charges will be filed against individuals involved in this incident within the next few days. The extent of these charges hinges on the level of cooperation we receive from witnesses or victims involved in this incident. I say that for this. Earlier this afternoon, we received a video that we've been requesting. We received it this afternoon that showed additional footage, which enabled us to proceed getting felony charges against Michael Kennedy for his involvement in this incident. At the start of this meeting, Michael Kennedy turned himself into the police department. He's currently at our police department right now. The last thing I just want to say, this is an example of when the community and the police department work together, justice can be served in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will conduct this like we do any public meeting. The first individual who wants to speak for the group, if you would like to come up, we'll give you 10 minutes, and then we'll take 3 people after that, and give them 5 minutes to speak and express your thoughts and your concerns with us as a city. If you would, please, like we do our public meeting, if you would just state your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is LaTanya Shante Duncan. I am the new president for the Faulkner County NAACP, Unit 6112, and my address is 7 Lower Lane. First, I would like to say thank you to everyone for allowing us to be able to speak. You did not have to vote yes to allow us to be able to do that, and I thank you for doing that. Number 2, I would also like to thank everyone that is here. Thank you. Thank you. You guys were at the meeting, some of you, thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart and from the Faulkner County NAACP. This is a very touching moment for me, okay? So I'm just going to jump straight to the point. First, I'm going to talk about some things that Mr. Harris just got through stating. Number 1, nobody left the scene of the incident. All of the kids that were involved remained there until the police arrived. The police told the boy on camera, you can either go to the hospital or you can go to jail. Everyone was told to leave, disperse. Okay? The lady that was arrested for public intoxication, she should, and I think maybe also disorderly conduct, I could be wrong, but I believe it was both. She needed to be arrested that night as well as everyone else. Bottom line, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They should have been arrested for all being publicly intoxicated. I need to know, the community needs to know the correct protocol for when an officer arrives on the scene and there are bloody kids on the scene. We need to know that protocol. We also need to know why it took 2 days for the police to get statements. The police went to the hospital. The boy's mom transported him to the hospital because she did not feel safe at that time. The police officer arrived over there and did not write down a statement. We also need dash cams from every officer. We also need police cams from every officer that was on that scene. That needs to be made public after the ongoing investigation. And only took down their names and their date of birth. When the other detectives went to the other houses, they did not write down a statement. They only took down names and their date of birth. That is an issue. Statements need to be made on the scene when everything is fresh on the minds and no one has time to gather extra little information to try to make it what they want to make it, okay? I would like to say that all of the victims and their parents are at the police station right now making their reports. I specifically told them, do not make any report, any action until you have legal representation. So it was not a delay because of anything else but to protect these minors that were brutally attacked on January the 6th, which we all know we all know what that day is. Brutally attacked by adults that are not even from our city. So I am asking you, Mayor, the city attorney, and you people on this council, every last one of you, to please post something, say something, to let these out-of-towners know, do not come into our growing city, starting havoc, messing with our youth, and tearing up things that we are trying to do. That is not acceptable. Nobody's child should have to go through that. Nobody. It doesn't matter what color, what religion, what school they go to. Nobody should ever have to go through that. Those kids were standing outside with their hands in their pants just like this. And when I went to the high school today to pick up my kids, I seen a whole bunch of kids with their hands in their pants, cold and shaking. And I thought to myself, I'll just get out and beat them up. Because that's exactly what happened on January the 6th. The Faulkner County NAACP and me as the new president, we are not going to tolerate that. We are here to work with the city. We want to work with the mayor. We want to work with the police chief. We are not against anybody. We want to work with you guys because guess what? A community that works together thrives. We want to make sure that the police know their correct protocols. All police are not bad. All police are not good. All police are not this. Just like any other field, doctors, lawyers, it doesn't matter. But when we work together and when we have the knowledge and the education as a community and also as leaders, then we can do better. We can do better. I am asking that the city leaders make steps and talking to Malleys to learn about their overserving, which they, the ABC board. We also need police presence at that establishment 24/7. Since they are serving alcohol, they've got axes been thrown inside the building. We need a police presence there every day, 24/7. I myself have worked with the ABC board in the past. I also was a bartender in the past, so I know exactly how things should be ran. Those were in my younger days. I know how those should be ran. I'm just telling you, I have the experience, is the reason why I brought that up. The next thing is, we also want to make sure that the Conway Police Department handles these situations a little differently next time and be more compassionate. Show compassion when they arrive on the scene and there are kids crying, bleeding. We have to show compassion to these kids. They are our future. And right now, we've got kids that are scared to go out of their house. We've got kids that are marked for life. Every time that child looks in the mirror, he is reliving this incident. Every time. That is unacceptable. That will not be tolerated. I am here as the president to tell you that I want to work with everybody. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what color you are, how old you are, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're here to work together. But I, myself, am a child advocate, and I fight for all kids, and I fight for any of your kids. Let something happen. I don't even have to know they're your kids, and I'm going to fight for them, just like I'm fighting for these kids. So that's what I ask. I want the police department to work with us, talk with us, join us, help us understand. We are also going to put together some things with the FBI, the Department of Justice, to bring more awareness to this community of different things, of hate crimes. We know these individuals are not from Conway, and we want individuals like them to stay out of Conway. Bottom line. So, Mayor, I'm begging you, I'm asking you, as a person that sat in your wife's classroom, as one of her favorite students, if she was in here, she would tell you. I promise you. We kept her going. But I'm begging you to please make a stand on this and let people know that this is not tolerated in our city, and it's not a good look for us at all when we are trying to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yeah. If you would state your name and address for the record, and
My name is Ken
At this
Ash.
point now, we go to 3 minutes.
Do what?
At this point now.
I don't have a lot to say, really.
Okay.
My name is Ken Ashley Pauley. I have been in this town for about 30 years. And all I'm hearing tonight is neighborhoods and communities. And some of you people know me for those 30 years, and some of you people don't. But I'll tell you what, let's keep it communities and grow out of the neighborhood. Okay? If you're going to stand out and you want to do something, I've been to a few city council meetings, I've never seen this. So what made this happen? Was it personal or was it what? So I'm just going to ask, and where's this nice young lady that just spoke? I want to encourage you to keep being strong, and I want to encourage our community to keep growing and be great. But with growth comes challenge. And we are no longer a little community or whatever, okay? We now have our police department being called out for inactive. We now have our community packing a city council meeting because we just want answers and we want a community. We don't want a neighborhood no more. Conway's not a community, it's a city, it's big. And for the guys out here that go out every night and protect us, God bless you, God bless your families, thank you. We don't have enough of you. We don't. So I want to encourage, again, we don't go out and look at our police force as bad guys. Let's look at the dynamics. Let's look at the numbers. This is a big, big town now. And I'm not going to get off into a bunch of other stuff. But I wish I'd have seen this 10, 15 years ago. And if we're going to continue this, then everybody come to these meetings every 2 weeks and listen to the stuff that bores half the people that want to come to this town and speak about there's a $65 lien on a property somewhere because they won't pick up their garbage cans. I apologize, I got passionate. Ma'am, thank you so much. Police chief, thank you. Everybody here, thank you for coming out here tonight. But don't let it get cold, don't let it go away. Stop. Become a community. You guys say community, we're barking community. Let's just be some big dogs and do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Cooper. I live in Conway, 61 3rd Circle. I thank you, Shantae, for what you said. You really kind of covered a lot and everything. What I get up here to say, I've not always been the person I am today, and I'm gonna say this, everybody make mistakes and everybody can change. I'm for the community, and I'm not just talking about the community that I'm from. I'm talking about Conway. I've been here over probably 40 years, 30 years. I can remember when we can go years without a homicide. Conway has changed because we have been opening up, letting people in. But that doesn't stop us from being great. This is the greatest city in the state of Arkansas. I'm not saying it because I live here. I've been here. And I want to tell you all my thing, what I'm going to do. I do a lot of speaking in the communities. I'm gonna try to keep the violence down, because people are thinking crazy right now. It's not about a white and black thing. We cannot change how people was raised or taught. Racism will go on forever. It ain't nothing you can do to curb it, slow it down, or whatever. People are who they are. But what we're not gonna do, we're not gonna turn this into a black and white thing and we got people getting into it all over our city. We're gonna continue to love. But it's gonna take people like me in every other different situations and communities to put that out there. Talk to your kids, talk to your families, talk to your peoples. Don't be having conversations, man, I don't like them people, we need to do something. No, we don't need to do nothing, but continue to love what this great city has always been about. Yes, we went through trials and tribulations and coming up, but it don't stop you from being who you are today. We all changed to be better people. I love this city. It's many a times I could have left. I ain't going nowhere, because I know what Conway really was built on and what it was about. That man right there, where he comes. He taught a lot of us a lot. My age, coming up through school. Y'all might not, some of y'all might not know where he comes from. Good guy. All he wanted was the best for us coming up as kids. We might didn't like what he told us, but as you get older in the years, you realize what he was really saying to you. But what I want to tell people in this community, in this city, we're not going to make it us against the police. We're not going to make it black against white. We're not doing that. We're going to continue to love. That's the only way we can solve problems we have in our city, is with love. And I pray that each and every one of you, if you hear anyone thinking that they want to go on the other side, no, bring them back to this side, tell them, man, that ain't what it's about. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. But it takes people with dignity and morals and respect to try to curb it and calm that down and get them on the right side. I'm here to say, I'm going to continue to preach with the community of people that gravitates with me and listen to me. We're working with the police. We're working with the people in our city. We're going to try to continue to stand and make this the greatest city in the state of Arkansas like it has been for years. The newcomers that come in, we'll welcome you with open arms, but we're not going to let you tear our city up. You're going to have to get on board with us and love like we love. We've been doing it for years, and I thank y'all for y'all time. I thank you all for coming out and being a part of this. And all I want to say is, these people make a difference every 2 weeks. Let's not make, just because it was something happened to our peoples or whoever, to come here and be a part of this. They opened this up for us as a city to be a part of whatever's going on. You can't get mad because something get built or something happened and you were never a part to see what was going on to be mad about it. If you want to try to make a change, come to these meetings. Support the meetings, support the causes. And I'm going to say this. A lot of people got questions. Allow the Conway Police Department, the detectives, the mayor, and the chief of police to do their job. Allow them. It's certain things they can't tell you, even though you might want to know. They can't take the investigation. They can't take the case. If you want a great outcome, let them that's been trained and educated to do their job. Now, when it's all over with, if you got any questions, come to these meetings and address them. I love y'all. Let's stay in the great city that we love.
I'm a little bit taller, so this length of the microphone won't work. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Quintessa Hathaway. I reside in Pulaski County. I was the individual that sent out a press release on Sunday. I believe that's when I sent it out to inform other community members in Central Arkansas about the incident that occurred at Mally's over the weekend. There are one individual and a group as well that I have been collaborating with, a couple organizations I've been collaborating with regarding this incident. I have been in communication with the Faulkner County NAACP. also the Little Rock Freedom Fund, as well as Ms. Queen Lakeisha Mosley, who is also running for State House of Representative District 56, and also she is a community activist. I also occupied that space as well. There was a meeting held on yesterday evening to address this matter. We were over at the McGee Center approximately at 7 p.m., I recall. We were packed over there. It was about 200 people. I just did a rough estimate of the overall attendance there. It's about 200 people present. And I will say this much, the diversity of every race, nationality, multi-generational attendance was really captivating and encouraging to know that this issue that happened at Mally's over the weekend captured everyone's attention. I only saw, and I may be in error, but I only saw a couple council members present at that meeting yesterday. So thank you all for your attendance. Councilwoman Isby, and I also believe I saw Councilman Hawkins as well. So thank you all for your attendance.
Mr. Jones was there.
Mr. Jones.
Councilman Jones.
Adam,
Thank you. I
I
apologize.
recognize.
I just didn't get a chance to speak with you. But thank you, Councilman Jones, for your attendance yesterday as well.
Cowboy stuff on. He said he recognized.
Now look, you know that's America's team.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
There's so many things I can
Oh
say,
my!
but I'm gonna withhold.
I'm a Cowboys fan too. Now don't get yourself in trouble. That's all right. It would have been good to have everyone else that's on the council as well as the mayor in prison yesterday. In 2020, there was an election, a municipal election that many of you all arrived in office, if I am correct. The mayor won by about 23,700 votes. There's also going to be an upcoming election this November, if I am correct, here for the municipal elections here in Faulkner County. I say those things to inform you all that I hope and pray that what happened on Saturday shows up in voter registration and mass voter turnout come this November. Each and every one of you all are beholden to the citizenry. You are placed in your elected positions because of voters. Some of you arrived in your positions by hundreds of votes or possibly even thousands of votes. By large margins, no opponents, whatever the case may be. But I am encouraged that the people that are present today, the young people that were impacted, the students as they go back into their schools here over the coming days, that there will be mass voter registration, that there will be a turnout like you have not seen before. Because I am truly about the business of voting rights, voter mobilization, and voter turnout. We also know that we are in a presidential election year. That's going to bring a whole lot of people out. Know that some of you may not be returning to office this upcoming November. I encourage each and every one of you to get on the side of voting rights, to get on the side of civil rights. That cuts across political partisan lines, that cuts across ideology, that is about what is right, and that is bringing all people, all voices to the table and not just representing a small margin of your political base. Not just those that look like you. Multiracial, multi-ethnic, multinational, multi-generational, multilingual individuals. More than in any other time in this country's history. It's a new day. It's a new day, Conway. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is, I hope I'm projecting loud enough, I try to do that, but my name is Dawn Jeffrey, and I'm with the Little Rock Freedom Fund, and I planned on starting this in a totally different matter, but just some of the things I've heard, I just want to start by saying, let's not minimize what happened to these children by not saying that it was a black or white issue that happened. This was a hate crime, make no mistake about it. Those children weren't targeted because they were just kids hanging out. They were black kids hanging out. And so I'm sorry to any parents that's here, because that really disturbed me. It was a hate crime that happened to these kids. And yesterday, a city spokesman stated that this is not the culture in Conway, but the truth is, even though these citizens were from Conway, this has been an underlying culture in Conway, not only by the citizens, but also by the police department. The recent incident that occurred was one reminder that a hate crime occurred not only to one person that attacked those children, when not one person that attacked those children was arrested. And I understand what the chief of police says, oh, well, we have to investigate, we have to do this and do that. But I've seen people that look just like me that have been picked up off the street for less with no evidence, with no proof. And they build a strong enough case to put them behind bars and sit them in jail. So that to me is not acceptable. Not one breathalyzer was done when they were clearly intoxicated. They were then allowed to go on those roads and travel home intoxicated, further causing harm to other citizens that may have been in the community. The citizens need to feel safe. The children need to feel protected and given retribution for these heinous crimes that were committed against them. That company's policy needs to be looked into and investigated. The police department in Conway, which has had several issues over the past, and probably why some citizens didn't even feel comfortable going with them that night, the reason why they didn't trust them to go give statements without lawyers. Bias training needs to be implemented within the Conway Police Department. So I just ask everyone here to consider what culture is being created. And as we keep saying, community, 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 love, love, love. You can operate in love and speak truth to power. You can operate in love and still hold people accountable. You shouldn't be afraid to hold people accountable because you fear what someone else will think you're saying. These parents have the right to feel the way they feel. These children have the right to feel what they feel. And this city, if we're a community, these kids need to be offered some form of free mental health counseling from a therapist of their choosing, because this was a traumatizing event. So I thank the people that did show up last night. I wish that the clergy of this community would have been at the meeting last night, because if their job is to pray, those children needed prayer. And they needed to stand with the family. So I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. Don't let this be the last time that you show up together. Continue to organize until you get the answers that you need, that you're seeking, that you get the answers that you deserve, that you see the change reflected in your community. Don't be fearful to ask for what you want because you fear intimidation. Don't operate in fear.
One more speaker. This will be our last speaker tonight. How are you doing, man?
Good evening. Franklin Holbrook, 2530 Marie Drive. I was going to just come in and just stand against the wall and just cheer on my new president for Fulton County NAACP, Shantae, you did an awesome job. Thank you. But I know Bart, I know Leo, I know Sister Sheila, I know Woody, I know Andy. I met this gentleman here before, and I love that girl right there, Shelly Mel. They're good people. And I just think I needed to say something tonight that I don't think this incident is about race. And that's just my perception. So, and I heard a lot of people talk about love. I heard a lot of people talk about community. But what's important is we're God-fearing people. And each one of you, I know, I've either broken bread with you, I worship with you, we put programs together, we went to Bear Country together. We've done things together. And I know where your heart is. So I just want to stand up right now, and I need you to see this gentleman right here. Take a look at this gentleman. You don't even know him. We're talking about somebody, a human being. We're talking about somebody's son. We're talking about a 16-year-old who was assaulted by a 63-year-old, a 53-year-old, a 35-year-old. Not race. It's because it's hate. They're broken people that came to Conway and took advantage of my child. This is mine. This is Frank Holbrook. This is my son. And it just tears me up that we cover, we posture. We're guilty of posturing. Let's not get sued. Let's not throw blame. Tonight, we need to set the record straight. We did not serve the people. We did not protect the people. We did not protect this young man. I don't get emotional about a lot of stuff. I try to keep a cool head, and I think. And my process tonight is, how could a 63-year-old drunken man pull a knife and stab a 16-year-old kid? And not get a breathalyzer? Race. No, it's not race. It's white privilege. It's white privilege. They marginalized this young man, and he got took him to the hospital. But the process of how we investigate a crime, and me being a mediator, an advocate for my black culture, there's a black man that called me and said, "Deacon, I just got arrested, walking in my own neighborhood." And I told Bart about it. And he said, he stopped and picked up a shiny object. Someone called the police and said there's a black man walking in our neighborhood with a knife. Police rose up on him, guns drawn, in his own neighborhood. He's about 3 blocks from his house. And we marginalized that man's story. I set up an appointment for him to meet with Bart. He did not listen to that man's inner side, inner being. He didn't turn on his Christian spirit. He chose to posture and stay on the other side. Don't make these white folks mad. This is a tough world we're living in. But now we need to set the stage. Either you with me or you're going to create me to be something different. We don't want to go down that road. We want you to open yourselves up and be citizens for all citizens. It's disappointing to know that I have a strong relationship with you guys. And you're on that side of the table, and I'm on this side today. And we can't get along. We can't meet. We're going to protect our police chief. There's a problem in the system. My wife used to do the diversity training. It got so hostile in there, she couldn't even do it no more. So hostile. The police officer going after my wife. I wish they would. Right, Bart? I wish they would. But they don't have the training no more.
Wow.
And that bothers me. How could the president of the NAACP, wife works at UCA, and they teach diversity of a black lady and a white lady. They tell the white lady to keep going and coming. Because the black lady was making the white officers feel uneasy. Call it like it is. Now something's wrong with this police mentality. We need to stop and fix it. And you got Officer, is it Parrish? He's taking the blunt of the blow tonight. He don't deserve that. It belongs, you guys are the boss. And we got to get the right people in the right positions. Bad hires are happening across the nation for us police officers. We're hiring our neighbor's best friend, stupid kid, who barely graduated high school, went to the Army, served 2 years, and got kicked out. Then he goes, oh, I guess I'll try to be a police officer. Now he's a veteran and he's a police officer. You gave him the authority to carry a gun and rule over the people. And they scared as heck. And what do? You bring them out of these small towns and then you put them in the black neighborhoods in our areas, patrolling black people. Don't know how to act or react. First thing they're gonna say, oh, we broke him. I was threatened for my life. He didn't follow protocol. He didn't, what's the key word? You need to comply. Well, we need to get you guys to start working, being committed behind what our officers should represent. That this young man here can feel good about where he go, what and how he go. There's no reason you can drop your kid off at a wonderful environment, brand new building, video games, full of fun, and then he get bum rushed. So tonight, let's start with one thing. Give us a fair investigation. Admit that you made a mistake Saturday night. Admit it. And we'll forgive you, and then we'll sit down in front of you and say, we're going to work with you on this. Don't block us out and then have your meeting with the other, the minister alliances. All them my friends. But what they doing over there, I need them to come over to McGee Center and hang out with us. Don't double book my people. You are separating, polarizing us. You're making them feel like we're not important. When you called, they all ran over there.
I didn't call.
He didn't.
Well, when you orchestrated, you don't.
I didn't orchestrate the meeting.
No.
Okay.
I was invited to a meeting.
Well, anyway, it happened, and it's wrong. We got to start putting our resources of our influences, our positive and wise men, in where the pain is, amongst their people. Stop making them feel good like this. They come over there and give you a godly counsel. We need godly counsel. Help us pray. I'm sorry. I just want y'all to see this young man.
Is he okay?
And this is why we go to work. This is why we investigate. This is why we create competencies to follow and to live by for all of our citizens. But I don't have any harsh feelings or nothing about anybody. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna break bread, we're gonna continue to have a good 2024. But I just need the police force to start giving us some transparency and some competency on every black investigation. Now this guy should have been arrested. His daughter should have been arrested. There's a demand out that we need to see the video. How many officers were at the scene? And what officer was in charge? Who made the decision to look at that kid with all that blood and say, no need to arrest? Who made the decision to look at this drunken man, disorderly conduct with a pocket knife, and you made the decision not to get his name and run a background. He had a record, history. So who made the decision not to arrest or detain? Somebody should have made the phone call. We need somebody that is in the right pay grade to make the right decision. Where's the videos? Did we review that? Why hasn't the family been contacted by, what area do they live in? What's wrong with the city council calling and say, hey, we heard this happen in our city. I assure you, I'll get with the mayor and the city council and the chief of police, we're gonna take care of that. Had that been done, it wouldn't have been as many people here. Show up, do something, and make sure that we show us how you're gonna project the fairness and a balanced justice system in Conway. Plain and simple. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all for attending tonight. If that counts, I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second. This young man.